Have you ever seen a fortress so perfectly preserved it feels like you've stepped right back in time? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today, the incredible Walls of Avila in Spain. This isn't just a wall, it's a monumental story written in stone, and we're going to decode it together.
All right, let's get right into it. Just look at this thing. The sheer scale is breathtaking. It's this massive granite ring that does more than just surround a city, it defines it. For hundreds of years, this wall was everything. It was strength. It was faith. It was the very symbol of Castile. So, here's what we've got lined up. First, we'll dig into the epic origin story, the legend everyone knows. Then, we're going to peel back those layers and see if that legend holds up, or if there's a more surprising truth. We'll also uncover the secrets hidden inside the stones themselves. Yep, there's recycled history in there. And finally, we'll see how this ancient fortress is still standing strong today as a world treasure. Every great monument has a story to tell, right? And the Walls of Avila are no different. For centuries, one single, powerful legend has been the go-to explanation for how this incredible fortress came to be. But before we get to the story, you really have to wrap your head around the scale of this thing. We're talking about a wall that's over 2.5 kilometers long. That's more than 1.5 miles. It wraps around 33 hectares of the old city. That is a massive undertaking, no matter what century you're in.
And all that length isn't just for show. It translates directly into pure military power. Think about it. 87 huge towers, 9 heavily fortified gates. And the walls themselves, they average 12 meters high. That's like a 4-story building, and they're 3 meters thick. This was designed to be pretty much impenetrable, and it's all built from that local granite, which gives it that classic, rugged, don't mess with me look.
So here it is, the legend. The story goes that in 1090, right after the Christians retook the city, a massive workforce of 2,000 men got to work. They were supposedly led by 2 geniuses of geometry, Cassandro and Florin. And get this, they built the entire thing in just 9 years. A heroic, non-stop effort. It's a great story, right? A tale of Christian determination and European brilliance. But the big question is any of it actually true?
Okay, so now it's time to play detective. Let's put that legend under the microscope. Because when you look at modern research, archaeology, and really dig into the historical records, a different story starts to emerge. One that's way more complex and, honestly, a lot more interesting.
So what's the academic view? Well, for starters, the timeline is way off. Researchers now believe most of the construction happened in the mid-12th century, not 1090. And our 2 heroes, Cassandro and Florin, not a single piece of paper, not one record suggests they ever existed. The reality is that this wasn't a 9-year sprint. It was a marathon, built over decades. And it was part of a much bigger royal strategy to secure the frontier, likely under kings like Alfonso VIII. And, this is the really cool part, while Christians were in charge, they relied on the expert skills of Muslim master craftsmen. Okay, this might be one of the coolest secrets about the wall. It's not just about who built it, but what they built it with. These builders weren't just powerful, they were master recyclers. They literally took pieces of the past to build their future. You see, there was a huge Roman cemetery, a necropolis, right on the site, and the builders, they just took it apart. Systematically. They used the stones for the wall. This practice has a name. It's called spolia. And let me tell you, in Avila, they became absolute pros at it. And you have to admit, it's a genius move. Why go through all the trouble of quarrying new stone, cutting it, hauling it, when you have thousands of perfectly shaped blocks just sitting there for the taking? It was pure pragmatism. Using these old tombstones saved a ton of time, money, and backbreaking labor. When you need a fortress up now, you take shortcuts. And here's the wild part. If you go there today and look closely, you can see these ghosts from the past yourself. You'll find Roman cistas, those are stone boxes for funeral ashes. You'll see inscribed stelas, basically tombstones. You might even spot varicose, which are these amazing animal sculptures from a pre-Roman culture. History isn't just around the fortress, it's literally in it. So, that brings us back to a key question. If the legendary European masters weren't real, then who had the know-how to build something this advanced? The answer is, well, it's a fantastic mix of cultures and skills. It's a story you see a lot on the Iberian frontier. There's a great term for this, architectural syncretism. Basically, it means blending different styles.
The Christian leaders running the show were smart. They knew that the best of the best military design at the time wasn't coming from France or Italy. Nope. It was coming from their rivals to the south, the Andalusians. So what did they do? They borrowed it. They took those advanced Islamic techniques and used them to make their own fortress as tough as possible. And they pulled it off with a kind of two-level workforce. On one level, you had the muscle, the unspecialized laborers, peasants, paid guys, even captives, who did all the heavy lifting. But for the really technical, precise work, that was handled by expert Muslim craftsmen known as al-Arifis. Without their skills, the project just wouldn't have been the same. And just like the Roman stones, you can actually see the handiwork of these al-Arifis today. If you're ever there, keep an eye out for the beautiful mudéjar brickwork. See those cool herringbone patterns? They're called frisos de esquinillas. They're like the subtle signatures left behind by this amazing blend of cultures. So, the wall is built. But of course, the story doesn't end there. Not even close. Over the centuries, its whole purpose has shifted from being a cutting-edge military machine to a priceless piece of world history. For hundreds of years, it did its job as a fortress. It was even beefed up during the Napoleonic Wars. But then came the 19th century, and all over Europe, cities were tearing down their old walls to make room for growth. Avila's Wall could have been next, but luckily in 1884, it was declared a national monument, which saved it from the wrecking ball. Fast forward to 1985, it gets the UNESCO World Heritage Site stamp of approval. And now there's a whole master plan in place just to take care of it. So what's the big enemy today? It's not an army laying siege. It's something much quieter, much more patient. Water. Yep, the number one threat is water damage. The top priority for conservationists is just making sure the whole thing is waterproof. Because if water gets in, it can slowly, silently destroy the very mortar and granite that have stood strong for almost a millennium. And that's exactly why all the restoration work is so important. They're not just patching it up, they're also making sure we can experience it. The walkway along the top, it's called the Adarve, has been beautifully restored. And they're even planning to open up more sections so more people can literally walk through history. Now, just so you know, the story we've talked about today isn't just pulled out of thin air. We pieced it together from a whole bunch of academic reports, historical studies, and official conservation papers to help sort out the facts from the legends. So, that kind of leaves us with one last thing to think about. This wall, it's not just a relic frozen in time. It's a living thing, still collecting stories, even in our own era. It makes you wonder, right? What stories will these stones be telling 1,000 years from now? When you boil it all down, the Wall of Avila is just so much more than a pretty picture. It's a masterpiece of smart, practical engineering. It's a living monument to different cultures working together. And it's proof of what people can build when they have to. The story might have started as a myth, but the reality behind it is even more incredible. Honestly, pictures and videos don't do it justice. There's nothing like seeing it for yourself. So if you ever get the chance, go to Avila. Walk those walls. You won't regret it. Thanks for joining me on this one.